welcome to Face with me. I'm Desi Anwar, in a program that brings the world to your screen and where we meet people who make a difference to our lives. In this episode, we meet someone quite special. He is prominent in the technology industry. His company is one of the Fortune 1000 along companies such as Apple, Google, Yahoo, Cisco, and Intel. He is also an innovator and an entrepreneur, but he is also Indonesian. His name is Sehat Sutarja, and we will meet him here on Face to Face with Desi Anwar. You might have heard of Silicon Valley in California, the United States. It is home to many of the world's largest technology companies and the world's leading hub for high-tech innovation and software development. Most of the computer gadgets and smartphones that are now part of our everyday life, not to mention the components inside them, were given birth in Silicon Valley, the home of many Fortune 1000 companies such as Apple, Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Intel, Cisco, and many others. Steve Jobs was, of course, the most famous son of Silicon Valley. One of the most successful companies in Silicon Valley is Marvell Technology Group, producing the all-important semiconductors and chips for the global computer market that last year earned $3.7 billion in revenue. But did you know that the CEO of this multi-million-dollar company is an Indonesian? I'm certainly proud to know that, and especially getting the chance to meet him, as his busy schedule means he is rarely found in his original home country. He is one Sehat Sutarja, someone whose knowledge and ideas are something we all need to listen to. A big player in Silicon Valley. Hi, Sehat. It's good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Jakarta.
My pleasure.
Come have a
Thank
seat.
you.
It's rare to see in this part of the world, so it's. But how often do you come back to Indonesia?
Not that often. Try to do it maybe once a year, but I probably miss last year. Probably I wasn't here.
But you still try to keep up your visits to Indonesia.
Yeah, it's my hometown after all. So.
But you actually left for the States when you finished high school, right?
Yes.
And so how did that come about? I mean, what made you decide to, okay, I'm leaving Jakarta, you went to Canisius, if I'm not mistaken, for your high schools, and then suddenly you were in the US. So what brought you there?
You know, when I was about 12 years old, I stumbled into electronics by chance. And I spend my free time, whenever I have free time, meaning like whenever I'm not helping my parents, helping the store, when I'm not doing my homework.
Oh, your parents had a shop or something?
My parents had a spare parts shop, actually. So whenever I'm not helping them in the store, or whenever after I finish my homework, and then I do my hobby, I do electronics.
When you say electronics, what are we talking about?
Meaning building radios and amplifiers and all the different electronic gadgets and instrumentations, and power amplifiers, making amplifiers.
Wow, you were only 12.
Well, I started when 12, but throughout the years, from 12 to 18 years, for that 6 years, I've been working on electronics.
But did anybody teach you? I mean, did you have somebody?
I taught myself, actually. I went to school, actually, to repair radios, to learn how to use transistors, to understand how transistor works. I came to realizations that a lot of these advancements in semiconductors, in transistors, into chips, were happening really in the United States. So when I finished my high school, I decided, I made up my mind that I have to go to the United States if I really, really want to understand. If I want to be part of these exciting fields of electronics, I have to be there.
And your parents were very encouraging, or did they say this is just the phase you're going through, sehat, you know, you...
In the beginning, I think they were, at one time I was trying to fix my father's radio, and instead of fixing the radio, I actually made it worse. I made it not working. It was partly not working, and I made it completely not working. It took me about a year and a half to figure out how to really fix it. When I was 13.
Well, that's amazing. When you're 13, you could, you know, already fix a radio.
A year and a half. And I already had my certificate to fix radio, but I guess I was not really qualified to fix it. But, so what I learned from that experience, actually that experience taught me a lot. For one thing, okay, I promised my father that I'll fix it, so I kept my promise that regardless how tough was it for me, I didn't have time to play with my friends. I kept my promise and I fixed it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. But did he worry about your future?
Oh yes, definitely, because all our neighbors, our family members, a lot of them went to Germany to become medical doctors. And then, you know, at that time, becoming a doctor is
the status
an aspiration of many parents. We like to have our kids to be successful, and successful means become a doctor. Actually, a business person was not considered to be successful. It's just a business person. And my kids are smart. They become medical doctor. My kids become multi-radio. That's like, you know, radio repair person. That's terrible.
Well, good thing you went to the States. So that's where you really learned all about, you know, the semiconductor, all about, you know, the chips and whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me about those years, because then you're really talking about the real stuff. You didn't have problems, you know, fitting in, no culture shock, language problems.
Actually, I wasn't even aware of such thing as culture shocks and fitting in. I wasn't aware. I was like, I wasn't even aware of my environment. I was like,
it's all electronic engineering.
I was like laser focused on getting the education. So when the first time the first exam, I was shocked. I got a B, and then it's like, after doing all the electronics of my life, I get B.
What happened?
What happened to me? This is so I study harder, and by the final exam, I got an A in that class.
Wow!
Even though I skipped the A part of the series. So from there on, things went smooth.
Okay, but then you basically never looked back.
Never looked back.
Sejak proklamasi, Indonesia telah mengalami 10 kali pemilu atau pemilihan umum. Di sanalah warga negara Indonesia yang telah memenuhi syarat berhak memilih wakilnya, bekerja menyuarakan kepentingan rakyat sesuai konstitusi.
Amis ya? Masih amis? Bukan. Bukan tuh buat diobok-obok. Nutrisari time. Bau amis yang mampir, langsung pada minggir. Jeruk kok minum jeruk.
Harus berubah.
Partai Nasdem, Gerakan Perubahan.
Eagle Institute Indonesia dan Metro TV mempersembahkan Kick Off Sabtu Dekade Eagle Awards Documentary Competition. 10 tahun Eagle Awards, sebuah perjalanan panjang merekam Indonesia dalam karya-karya anak bangsa. Selasa 18 Maret mulai jam 6 sore.
Kan memang seseorang ada masalah.
Ketika saya jalan dengan teman saya, cowok, nah kayak gitu kan.
Katanya bilang nggak apa-apa.
Dan rapoponya bukan aku rapopo, bukan.
Sehat is an example of an Indonesian who not only thrives but succeeds abroad through focus, hard work and entrepreneurial spirit. In him, I see the dedication and persistence that make successful innovators and entrepreneurs so inspiring. His passion for electrical engineering that started at an early age took him to the US, where he continued his education and where he made his passion his career. In 1995, together with his wife and his brother, Sehat founded Marvell Semiconductors. Since then, the company has grown worldwide, employing over 7,000 people in design centers in China, Europe, India, Singapore, Japan, amongst many, while its headquarters remains in Santa Clara, California. Marvell Technology Group is a producer of storage, communications and consumer semiconductor products. Today, Sehat owns more than 260 patents, and with a philanthropic heart, he also contributes a lot in the area of green technology and education. He's also one of the early proponents of one laptop per child program, which enables children from developing countries to acquire new learning opportunities. Now, the whole world have heard of, Silicon Valley, and you are one of the kings of Silicon Valley. I mean, and this is something, that we Indonesians, having somebody like you being there and, one of the, listed, distinguished innovators of Silicon Valley. I mean, that's a real achievement, and of course it's through your hard work and dedication and passion. But was that really, was that something that was sort of part of the objective, or was that something that came about just because you followed whatever it is that you were passionate about?
I only knew the word Silicon Valley after I came to the United States. I had no idea about Silicon Valley. I had no idea about where the semiconductor companies were started in Silicon Valley. I had no clue of that, actually.
But in a way, you were very, the right place at the right time, because when we moved to the 90s, this is when sort of the IT revolution started, and we're, seeing sort of a shift towards, .com companies, the internet, and, all these telecommunications, as well as, high-tech era. So tell us a little bit about how you started Marvell Technologies. And
so looking back, if you say that I was there at the right time, at the right place, you cannot say it better than that, because I would say, almost missed the boat.
Yeah.
Because by the time I went there, the semiconductor revolution was getting to maturing rapidly. What you heard about these .coms, those were the late stage of the semiconductor revolutions. Actually, in fact, what enables the .com era is the advancements in computer technology, made possible by the revolutions of semiconductors. So, meaning that we are at the really, really late stage of the semiconductor revolutions. What I was lucky, because when I studied electronics in early 70s, when I was in high school, in SMP.
When you were still tinkering.
Right. I could see the progress of the semiconductor while the technology was progressing. And I was there along with the rest of the world, even though I was in Indonesia. And amazingly, I could buy those components in Indonesia. I couldn't even, not looking back, maybe if I was born in another country, I will never have that opportunity.
But tell me about the key to Marvell's success. Obviously, these days in order to be successful in any technological companies, you have to be ahead always, very quick when it comes to creativity, innovation, coming up, rolling up the new products that everybody can use. I mean, I think your products is basically used by just about all sorts of platforms and everybody, with gadgets. But what would you say were the key of the success of the company?
Yes, there are many, like I can name a few of them. So some of the important ones are that we need to be able to look forward. And the reason is this: in semiconductors, every time you want to build a new technology, it takes time. Sometimes you're lucky 3 years, sometimes takes 4 years. And then if you're not so lucky, it may take 5 years to develop a new technology, especially things that people say is impossible to do. So you need to be able to predict what people will need at the time. And more also equally important, we need to be able to predict what is possible to be built by that time. And be able to build that at affordable prices. Not just possible, but nobody can afford to pay for it, then you come up with the wrong
you can't make business out of it.
Yeah. So meanings that the important part is we need to be able to challenge ourselves, okay, not be afraid of coming out with solving new problems. Meaning we have to be an optimist. I guess maybe the better way to say it. So at the same time, okay, we also need to be paranoid that somebody else may be running faster than us. Okay, maybe they are working on the same area, so we have to work harder. So at the same time, the biggest challenge that's facing us is that things becomes more complicated every year. And the reason things become more complicated is because the chip comes about the same size every year, meaning a lot more things that we have to put inside the chip. That's mean a lot more engineers, a lot more planning, a lot more collaborations between the different engineers. And when you're dealing with different engineers, you have different opinions.
With this level of achievement, it's always interesting to note the kind of education and upbringing the person had. I wonder what Sehat was like when he was still at school in Canisius. An old teacher, Miss Kosasi, shared her memories of the high school student who graduated in 1980.
And in the time of Sehat, so just to force the student to learn, I asked the student to memorize, one of which was the story of Robinson Crusoe. So I asked them to memorize 3 chapters of the Robinson Crusoe in 3 weeks. And most of them passed. Only a few failed. But Sehat, I think, belonged to those who were lucky. So he did not do the remedials. They did not have to do the remedials. That Sehat belongs to one of the wealthiest people in the world makes me very proud and happy. Yeah, like most parents, parents are very happy and proud when the children belong to those who are very successful. And Sehat we call very, very successful.
He's a bit quiet, yeah. Well, if you go to boys-only school, most of the students are very naughty, and Sehat can be considered, he's more on the calm side, quiet. He doesn't really mingle with all the bad boys. But one thing is that he has a level of confidence that I considered very high. Because for us as a boys only, in school, we always go, especially during teenagers, we always go with the trend. What's the trend at that time? And Sehat at that time, for instance, that most of us remember, he came to school every day carrying an Ecolux briefcase. Not a shoulder bag or those kind of things. So it's very unique, and he doesn't care whether we make jokes of him or anything. We also heard that he donated a lot for the advancement of the university that he went, to continue. So hopefully one day he will also help and support Canisius.
Pemilu tinggal menghitung hari.
Ini bangsa ini belum berdiri di atas kaki sendiri ketika kamu makan pagi.
Alvin, kau menguap yang tak terkuat.
Kalau korupsi nanti jadi jelek.
Sembilan